Good evening. Our lesson tonight is on area of trapezoids. We're going to forget what this says up here for the moment, and let's take a look at what a trapezoid is. If you notice a trapezoid, it's a bit different than a parallelogram because it just has one pair of parallel sides. These two are not parallel because eventually if they kept going, they would intersect. So those aren't parallel. Okay, so let's look at the trapezoid formula. Actually, let's look at the labels of the dimensions. We call this base 1, and the 1 goes a little bit below, and this is base 2, that side of the trapezoid. Height is perpendicular, just like our triangle and parallelogram. So we have to understand where the dimensions are before we start using the formula. Here's the formula. The area, capital A, equals 1/2 the height. So whatever the height is, you take 1/2 of it. What does 1/2 of something mean? 1/2 of 10, for example, is 5 because it means we're taking 10 and dividing by 2. We're finding half of it. So when you see that part of the formula, all it simply means is divide by 2. Okay, so that's part of the formula. The next part, this parentheses is going to mean multiplication. So we're going to multiply base 1 plus base 2. That's telling us we have to add the bases together. Now it looks complicated, but if you know how to use a formula and fill in the variables for a formula, it shouldn't be hard. All right, so let's keep in mind a trapezoid has two bases, and we label them B1 and B2. The height of the trapezoid, we have to remember, is the distance between the bases. So I showed you that up here, and we see it forms a perpendicular line. All right, when finding the area of the trapezoid, it's important to follow the order of operations. If you look at our formula, there's a few operations there. Okay, in the formula, the bases have to be added before you multiply by half the height. So let's look at our first example. I'm going to label our first base, base 1, 7 centimeters. Base 2 will be 12 centimeters. And I'm going to show you the height on the outside of the trapezoid. Okay, it's still, this imaginary line here is between the two bases, and that height is 9.8 meters. All right, let's start using our formula, plugging in the appropriate numbers for the variables. So capital A for area equals, keep your 1/2, bring it down, fill in the height, which I see is 9.8. So times, I'm going to use a parentheses to show times 9.8 times base 1, which is 7 centimeters, plus base 2, which is 12 centimeters. Now really I can perform two operations on this next line. Let's find half of 9.8 first. So if you use your calculator, half of 9.8 is 4.9. So I've done that part of the equation. Next to that, I have to do 7 plus 12, which is 19. Now what I have is 4.9 times 19, and the answer is 93.1, and then, 0.1. My units are centimeters squared. All right, come in with any questions you may have in the morning, and I will see you in school. Have a great night.